I'm Jamie Cash. I am actually out of Denver, Colorado. I will be the host today, replacing Toby. I've got big shoes to fill, so wish me luck. And then Harry Stevens is our real expert. Harry is located in Tampa, Florida, so Tampa Bay, Florida. So welcome, Harry. We're so excited to have you here. It's nice to have your face again. We had Harry on last year. He did such an amazing job. We invited him back. So thanks, Harry, for being here.
Oh,
Harry, do
definitely.
you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah, brief bio. My name is Harry Stevens. Let me see. Culturally, ethnically, originally from California, from Los Angeles. Born and raised in California. Background, ancestry, dad's side's German Irish, mom's side's Puerto Rican. So definitely have some Spanish there, some different cultures, some different angles, and been a broker associate for 15 plus years. And still active in the business and an instructor, right, with Kaplan. So definitely glad to be with you guys.
Yes, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you. And like I said, I'm Jamie Cash. I work for Kaplan. I handle the community forum as well as special projects, which means a lot of different things, a lot of hats to wear. But I've been with Kaplan for about 5 years, been in the real estate industry for about 12, I want to say now. I do have my license as well. I don't really practice because I don't have the time to do so, and doing it part-time is tricky. So I more or less got my license so I could better understand the student experience and be able to give you guys some more guidance that way. So thanks again for joining us today. As we go through the webinar, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat and we will do our best to answer those questions. So as you guys know, the topic today is about how to find your tribe. So why don't we start out with that first question, is why is it important to have a tribe, Harry?
Oh, thank you, Jamie, and it's huge, right? When it comes to the tribe, kind of understanding, well, what is it? Well, why is it important? And I think the focus is you really have to focus on yourself, right? What's important to you in order to be able to be open to having a tribe, to having a group, a community, usually a smaller group, right, of individuals that have that like-minded approach to what you're going after, especially when it comes to the real estate market. Maybe their business, maybe their personal, maybe their family, right? And we share things like a common language. We can share things like cultural events. We can share things like bonds, relationships, right? Living in the same area, political, religious beliefs. All these things again are important, but the goal is what's important to you, right? When it comes to that
Right.
tribe, what is important to me, again, thinking and understanding that it's a little bit different than networking, right? A tribe is very
Mhm.
personal, right? What do I want out of this? And if we never understand that aspect of it, of what is it that I want out of this, then how would you know? How would you know and get into that genuine connection, that genuine relationship that you're looking for, right? Something to better myself when it's all said and done.
Right.
So
Right.
in that aspect, I think that would be one of the most important parts of why is it important and what is it, right? When it comes to being that tribe.
Mhm.
And one thing, Jamie, that I always like to mention, in addition to obviously backgrounds and culturals and so on, is a quote that I heard. This is going back a few months. Is what is that difference, right, between a millionaire and a billionaire? And I think one of the main differences, how can we distinguish with them, is that billionaires, they say, again, I don't know many billionaires, but they're just better at creating relationships, at genuine
Yeah.
connections, right? And if we
Yeah.
can understand how to do that, I think that's what makes a difference when it comes to real estate and when it comes to our making ourselves better, day in and day out.
Right. And something you touched on just briefly was about, you mentioned network. So do you want to explain the difference between a network and a tribe, just so that everyone's clear?
No, no, definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. So understanding again the network, more of a business, right? Understanding that I might not have a tribe, I might not have the same language, same interests. What would I do with family? What would I do with good friends? It might be different, right? Because they're
Mhm.
the networking event. I'm giving my 60-second elevator pitch and kind of going to different industries, different people. So not necessarily just real estate, right? I could be looking at accountants or title work or insurance or anything like that. So the point is kind of making it more personal, right? What's important to me as my tribe is going to be different than what's important to me as a networking event, right? Where I'm just trying to get that
Right.
exposure, and being able to meet as many people as I can, and pass out business cards and so on.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the real estate people are always the go-to people for like, hey, do you know anybody that can do this? Like they are perfect. That would be your network. Those are the people that you ask, who do you know that fixes roofs? And I guarantee your realtor will know exactly who that person is and probably give you multiple names of
Oh,
different
definitely.
options.
Yeah. Yeah. Got the Rolodex or the phone or the cell phone or
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to quickly put up a poll and just see who our audience is today. So it's how long have you had your real estate license? Are you currently taking classes at Kaplan? Is it less than 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10, 10 plus years? So if you want to answer that in the poll, that would be great. Um, is that poll showing? Let's
no,
see.
I don't see the poll. I don't know if I'm exempt, but
Oops. Hang
oh,
on,
it
let me
came up for a second.
sorry. Hold on, let me repull. Relaunch. Okay. There, can you see it now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, good. Perfect. Sorry. So this tool will just give us an idea of who our audience is today, just so that we can better gauge the conversation to whether you guys are students, whether you've been in the industry, you're looking to get your license, you've been doing this for a while. It looks like most of the students that are answering right now, our audience is about 60% of them are taking classes at Kaplan. So hang on one second. Let me give you I'll end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay. And there's the results. So about 60% are taking classes at Kaplan. So they're students trying to get their license. So thanks for joining us today. We're glad you guys are here. About 15% are less than 3 years. About 7 or 10 years plus, and about 14% are looking to get their license. So thank you guys all for joining us. We're super excited to have a better idea of who is in our audience. So thank you for participating in that. We obviously love having our students here because this is just another way for us to give you guys information while you're taking your courses, kind of break up the monotony of studying and kind of find out what you're really going to experience once you have your license, because getting your license and practicing are two very different things. So this is more on the practicing side of things. So what strategies can the real estate professionals, so once they have their license or even before they get their license, what strategies can they employ to identify their tribe?
Oh, no, definitely. That's always a good question. Strategies or hacks or ways, right? How can I identify who's going to be that support group for me? Who's going to be that tribe? And I would look to start at what you're comfortable with, right? Look
Mhm.
at what you're already doing. What are you happy doing day in and day out? And can you see, like-minded individuals doing that with you, doing it together? And again, as a real estate professional, you're gonna have that core group, right? That circle of influence, and be able to then ask, right? Ask for referrals, ask for help. Maybe be a sounding board. Oh, can you look at my listing presentation? Am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? Right? All these
Yeah.
different things. That group is going to help you. That group is going to support you when it comes down to it. Because if not, I mean, you're kind of on your own, right? You're siloing yourself from everybody else. And in this business, we just can't do that, right? We got to be out there. We got to be
Right.
talking to people, kissing babies, all that fun stuff. When
It's
it comes down to it,
it's definitely a social environment for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
definitely.
And I would add to that too. It's people that you can get vulnerable with
Yeah,
because you need that feedback, you need that honest criticism because you're never going to get better if you don't want to hear critiques, right? As hard
definitely.
as it can be, we all need it. Just don't focus on that.
No, no. And in this business, remember, rejection. Rejection is good, right? It builds character, right? You always want to get rejection and get it early on, get it enough that,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother you, in 6 months or a year. You're like, whatever. I got rejected by my own family. It's like, I can take it.
Yes. What would be some ways for them to network and build these connections?
So that's a wow. No, no, good questions, Jamie. So when it comes to the networking, when it comes to, well, how do I do this, right? This given tribe, this given support group, I would always say, and I always in classes, especially as an instructor and mentoring other agents, is always start with free, right? Free is always better. Free is always going to be, how do I test, right? Test the waters and figure out what is it that I want. I'm not going to go spend, a bunch of money. I'm going to start with free. So where would free be? I would start with something as simple as Eventbrite, right? You can look it up online. You can see what's in your
Yeah.
community, look for those free activities, look for kind of to stretch yourself a little bit. I know my background obviously is the Spanish community. So I'll look, right? I want to go to a Spanish event. I'll look, I'll try to go to one at least every couple of weeks, every month, and just to kind of get out there, right? See, well, who can I be, make part of my tribe, right? So free events through Eventbrite. Also, obviously, like the networking events. They have a ton of networking events. They do them online. They also do them in person. So a lot of times, just having your kind of elevator pitch, right, prepared, kind of laid out, 60 seconds. And a lot of these online forums, they'll give you an opportunity to speak to two or three people and just give your pitch, right? Just say, well, who
Yeah.
are you? Where are you from? What's your background? What business are you in? And I think it just really helps to kind of open you up a little bit more if you weren't used to that, especially if you're new, kind of understanding, well, how am I going to get my name out? How am I going to talk to people? Well, obviously, you're going to talk to partners in the industry, right? Insurance people or title people or accountants, attorneys, right? And all these people also join these networking groups. So I think that's a key piece. Again, focus on free, right? When it comes
Yeah.
to that. So you don't spend too much money until you figure out, well, what is it that I really like. Once you find that, then at that point, you might get involved with, say, your church or your synagogue or your mosque, when it comes to different events, right? I know one thing that I like to do is maybe exercise related, right? In your church, right? Doing, in my case, like a basketball, right? Joining men of my age in basketball and having exercise and speaking, right? Like-minded activities, like-minded individuals. So all those different things, I think, help when it comes to building that connection, when it comes to networking with different individuals, different industries, to kind of help. In the end, right, we're not doing this
Yeah.
selfishly. We're going to eventually get this by default, right? Because we're out there, we're exposing, we're getting out there and letting people know who is Harry and what is his business and why should I do business with Harry, right?
Yeah.
When it's said and done.
Yeah. No, that's such a great point because it's obviously people that you want to have something in common with. It's not just anybody. And you also have to rely on your intuition, I would say, too, because sometimes that person just might not be a fit. And sometimes that person is a great fit. It's just, you kind of have to rely on your intuition. It may not be, the first person you meet automatically in your tribe. You just kind
Exactly.
of have to like weed those out and having patience, I think, because finding a tribe can be difficult. Like, especially if you just move to a new area, I think it can be a challenge to meet people in what you're interested in, and it just might take a little bit longer. So having some patience as you go through that process, I think is important too. No, but that's great. I think those are all great ideas. Social media is another good place to find other people that are like-minded and you have similar interests in. There's always free Facebook groups and things like that. Kaplan has a real estate community. I don't know if everyone's aware of that, but that's another great resource for you guys to take advantage of. You can find other people in your tribe that are going through real estate classes at the same time as you and can commiserate with them as to the test that you just took. Maybe talk you off a ledge if you failed the test and give you that confidence you need to go back and try it again. Or just speaking to others that are in the same boat and like encouragement, I think is huge there. So Kaplan has a community forum that can help bridge that gap too while you're in school, which also helps you have a network of people when you complete school as well. Thank you. Jenna just put in
Awesome.
how to join the real estate community. So I appreciate that, Jenna. Thank you. That's a good link for them to go ahead and join the community. The next question we had was about leveraging local events or community activities. And you kind of touched on this with the Eventbrite, but I know when we had talked before, you had mentioned that one of your interests was Asian culture. Do you want to elaborate on that? Because I know you had mentioned Hispanic culture as well, but if you want to just elaborate on those two, that'd be great.
No, no, definitely. Yeah. So something again that that's interested me, and again, it's something like as individuals, if we've gone to different countries, kind of learn different cultures and see different people and kind of taste food and experience and so forth, it's amazing, right? When we're going to different countries and kind of
Yeah.
getting out of our comfort zone, getting out of our
Right.
area, and it's something that always interests me. I started again in my tribe, right? Bringing in some friends that I consider friends, good friends, that are more the Filipino culture. And I wanted to learn. Okay, well, what language is Filipino? Okay, Tagalog. Okay, Tagalog. Let me learn some of the language, and then let me go to some of the events. And it was amazing, right? Because this event that I went to recently had food from all kinds of different Asian cultures. He said, okay, here's the food from China, and here's the food from Japan, and here's the food from Laos, and here's the food from Vietnam, and that was just and there my Filipino friend is just kind of guiding me through all the foods and why it's important and what it means to the culture, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It was like if I was in a different country. So I
Yeah.
was really intrigued on how that all worked and how grateful I was to have this gentleman in my group and to kind of guide me along, kind of being a fly on the wall as part of the culture, as part of the okay, now Harry's gonna become part of your family, and now you're gonna learn Tagalog and you're gonna come over to our house and have dinner and this and that and the other. And I was just like, I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so glad I involved him in my tribe. So something like
Yeah.
I think is really cool if you guys can do that. If your comfort level is there, if you're open to it, same with the Spanish culture, very, I'm sure African American culture and so on. So the goal is again getting out of your comfort zone, right? Getting into a culture that maybe you weren't familiar with, right? That maybe you just didn't understand, but little by little, again, kind of taking out that stereotype, getting out that ego, because I know we want to be judgmental. But if you can keep an open mind about it, wow, it's unreal the benefits and how it all works when it comes down to it.
Yeah. And from that, an offset is potential business, right? So
Oh yeah,
once you're in
definitely.
that, once you know them and know their culture, you can better serve them in the business. Because as we know, America is a melting pot, and there's so many cultures within our culture that it's so great to be able to melt that all together and understand another person's culture and then help them through the process in a different way that gives them that personal touch versus just another transaction.
Yeah,
And then
definitely.
what comes from that would be referrals, right? So then you just keep getting more business from that. So I think that's the piece too that everyone needs to remember is there's different ways to find business. It's not just, okay, here's my sphere of influence. I have these 40 family members that I'm just going to keep calling. We need to broaden that sphere and add people from your tribe, add people from what things that you're interested in, and eventually those relationships that will develop and you'll be their resource when it comes to real estate.
No, no, it's a great point, Jamie, because that's something again. When you go to that person or you go to that buyer, you go to that seller, and we know, right? They can sense is Harry being sincere,
Right.
or is this fake, and can they sense that commission breath? Oh my gosh, all they want is a commission. They don't care about me as a
Yeah.
customer, and so
Right.
forth. But if you have that general relationship, it's like no, no, whether you do business with me or not, it's okay. I'm here to
Mhm.
help. I'm here to support you. I'm here with what you need. And to me, that goes so far beyond
Yeah.
that transaction, right? Because it's not transactional at that point; it's personal, right? And
Right.
if we can communicate that, wow, to me that's where you see the difference between a great agent and one that's just struggling to make ends meet.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, would you rather have a relationship with someone and be able to refer them out versus just a transaction and then
Exactly.
move along? Because eventually you're going to run out of transactions,
Yep.
but you're never going to run out of relationships if you just keep building those. And I know personally, my favorite realtor friends are ones that I can rely on for anything and ask a question to. And they may not be getting a transaction from me, but I know that in the future, if I needed to refer them to someone, that's exactly who I would refer a friend to. So that's the stuff that we kind of have to keep in the back of our mind. Like it's not always just transactional. We need to make sure that we're building relationships so that we can provide another level of customer service.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree. And that's something that it took me a while to learn. I remember my
oh
first
yeah.
couple of years, everything was transaction, deals,
Mm,
deals, deals, deals.
yep.
And I didn't even see the people. All I saw was the deal. All I saw, I mean, right through the customer, right to the closing. And it was terrible. And I hated myself for it because I lost a lot of friends in that process. And now I see it, obviously, so many years from now. But if that's something that I can relay to everyone in the group, don't see it transactionally. If you see it that way, it's so hard to do the business that way. If you can focus on the relationship, the business will come. It'll come automatically. It's unreal how the
Mhm.
difference is.
Yeah, I would love for you to share some. I wish I would have known this when I first started.
That's the
Maybe
biggest
that'll
thing.
be another webinar we do,
Yeah,
but
no, no, exactly. Yeah, we can go a couple hours about that,
yeah,
especially the first 2 years.
for
But
sure.
again, it's that mindset, right? It's that mentality because that's how the brokerage trained me. They wanted a listing machine, and that's what I became. And it's just it's a shame, because it shouldn't be that way. And that's one of the big regrets. And yeah, that's something again, like you said, for the future. But like yeah, like Giovanna says, if it's the relationship, building trust, your community, your tribe, to me that's invaluable, right?
Yeah.
It's unreal.
And cultivating those relationships in turn cultivate leads, whether
Yeah,
it's intentional or not. It just, if they know that they can trust you and rely on you, then they'll come to you for other bigger important things. Because most people, this is the biggest transaction they'll ever do in their life is buying a house. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that go out and buy like airplanes and rocket ships and all these other things, but so this is usually the one big transaction that people are scared about. They don't know anything about it, or they think that they know something but maybe not everything, so they need your guidance, and that's invaluable to be able to trust that person, and then also to be able to refer people back to you because they did trust you in that with that transaction. um One of the other
Agree.
questions we had was, what are some challenges or obstacles that you could encounter when you're trying to find your tribe and how to overcome them?
Yeah, definitely. But before that, I saw Andres put a question about the book. So again, giving you guys a book reference, and I don't know if that was the question that you intended, Andres, but I wanted to give you guys what would be a good book, right? That I can
Yeah.
read that will kind of help me with this process, help me become a better agent. And one of my favorites, if you guys haven't read it, is an amazing book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, Voss. And amazing, he was an FBI negotiator for 20 years. So imagine how he had to build trust. Yeah, yeah, thank you, Tilo. Amazing. And he actually trains now, not to plug him, but he trains commercial agents. So he's heavily involved in the real estate business. I saw him at some training seminars and just blew me away. And from then I was like, wow. And what he says, you can find him free on YouTube. A lot of his YouTube videos are really good, just really giving you kind of that extra angle, that extra edge, right, in our business that we need. And he bases it on the relationship. And I think that's why it always goes back to, having that tribe and having that support group.
Yeah.
But to, yeah, answer your question, Jamie, common challenges, I think one of the biggest ones is being sincere, right? When you relate to people, they can tell the difference. And even
Hmm.
if you think they don't, they do, right? So just being careful when you're not going to be sincere, just don't do it. I think in my opinion, it's always going to be easier that insincerity. And they say that's one of our superpowers, right? As agents, as
Right.
individuals, is being authentic with people. I hear that a lot on videos and books, and that authenticity is just incredible, right? Being authentic with people, being authentic with your customers, with your buyers and your sellers, and they feel that, right? And that's something
Right.
that again, I know as an agent, right? I'm getting calls from people that I did business with that I thought were long gone. 15 years later, they're still calling me back, like, "Harry, I remember you sold me my first house," and I'm blown away, right? I get goosebumps now. I'm like, "You remember me? I didn't call you, I didn't talk to you, and you still called me back." And it's incredible, right? 5 years later, 10 years later, and again, that authenticity, right? They felt it, they saw it, they're like, no, I can't trust anybody but Harry. I'm going to call him back. I'm going to keep that number. So all those different things, I think it starts that way. Common challenges, I think, also as individuals, we're growing each day. So how can you make yourself a better person? How can you grow yourself again through books, like Jamie says, through Kaplan, through all the different avenues, right? How can you develop yourself professionally? How can you develop yourself as an individual? I think all those different things hurt us, right? Hurt us trying to find our tribe because we don't understand ourselves, right? What is the movie
Yeah.
from the Matrix? Know thyself, right? But those little things, I think if you
Yeah.
can get that, wow, it's unreal, right? How you can just be a better person to your family, to your tribe, and to the world, in the industry. I think is what really makes the difference. But other obstacles, obviously, things like speaking is going to be tough, right? If you're shy and you go to these networking events and in your mind, you sabotage yourself. I'm not confident. I'm introverted. I'm shy. You have to work on it, right? I was the same
Yeah.
way. I'm sure Jamie was the same way. I'm sure
Oh yeah.
many of those in the group. Before you got into real estate, you're like, am I gonna have to present to people? Like, what is this? Where do I start? But it takes practice, right? Just like me, just like Jamie, just like many of the instructors in Kaplan, right? We had to start somewhere. And I
Yeah.
remember I sounded like a preacher the first time that I presented in a course. And I was like, wow, where's your church? Where's your synagogue? Where's your mosque? Right? Where do you preach at? And I'm like, no, I'm not preaching. I'm doing the class. But it was funny, right? Because that was my beginning, right? You had to start somewhere. So
Right.
all I say, and for speaking, one thing that I've always enjoyed is I'm trying to think of the name, Jamie, that a real famous, oh gosh, it eludes me. Um, oh gosh, what's the name of it? That they do the groups and they count your ums and they count
Oh,
the teams. Oh, I'm trying to
I
think of the
can't think of
name.
the group,
Okay,
but yes, I know what you're talking about.
okay. But it's kind of a mentorship for Toastmasters. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yes. Yeah. As soon as Elizabeth popped it up, it came to head.
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Yes.
So that's huge, right? Just understanding when you're speaking, am I speaking the right way? Am I speaking the wrong way? Am I saying too many times? Am I pausing too much, too little? I think all those things really as agents, because we're going to be presenting over and over again. If you can become a very good speaker, you'll have listings all over the place, right? Because again, they'll naturally gravitate you, and you're genuine and you're authentic. Ah, there's no stopping you.
Yeah. No, I think that's huge is like part of your tribe. You want to be able to be vulnerable in front of them and, go through your presentation and be like, how does this sound? And then take that feedback and change it and alter, how you're going to do your presentation. Because sometimes it might sound good in your head and then you say it out loud and you're like, not sure I like that. Um, and you'll just evolve. I know one of our instructors yesterday was talking in a meeting and he said, for the first 2 years he instructed, he just said the exact same jokes that his trainer
Yeah.
used. So for 2 years, he literally said word for word the same jokes over and over. And he's like, finally, I eventually realized like that sounds really canned and I need to come up with my own jokes. So it's just finding your place and finding who you are. Disc profiles. We have a real estate accelerator program, and part of that program is taking a disc profile to kind of understand yourself a little bit better. And then we also dive into like, creating a business plan and creating your business identity because your identity needs to match you as a person because you don't want some identity that doesn't match you that just, will put people off to begin with. Like you've got this big professional profile, but then you're fun and jovial and silly and you're like that those aren't matching, which you can be both, but make sure that your identity is matching what you're putting out there. I think that helps you also be more genuine. So Real Estate Accelerator is a program that we have that works on that and helps you get your business plan and also helps you to kind of generate that initial phase of starting your business. Because I think that's one tricky thing about real estate is there's so many TV shows that make it look so easy.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
the reality of it is it's actually a business. And the more that we can think about it as a business, the more that we can succeed and be better prepared for it. So I think finding your tribe is one of those pieces that you can bounce business ideas off of people and being able to share that with then your sphere makes a big difference versus just some ideas that you're coming up with and then just throwing it up at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um,
Yep, good points.
we just got a question. What are the common questions you initially get during the first meeting with clients? You want to take that one, Harry?
Yeah, so that's a great point, Javonis, and it's something that I would highly recommend that you have a checklist. Kind of outline the checklist and prepare because again, you're going to get different questions each time when but most of it's going to be revolved around that listing presentation, and you got to think it's not about me, right? It's about them. So what are they thinking when I have that first impression? Am I dressed professionally? Did I get there on time? all those things could detract from their impression of me, right? Because it's all psychological. So what are they thinking? Well, I thought Harry could sell my house until he got here, something like that. You're like, oh, you sabotaged yourself. So you got to think of, they're asking certain questions, but internally, what are they really saying? What is their facial expression saying? What are their mannerisms saying? How are they sitting? So a lot of times, I know when it comes to the listing presentation, I try to do things very informally, very casually, right? If we can do it at the kitchen table, great. I don't want it to be a very formal setting where, again, they feel like they're on the defensive, right? Oh, Harry's here, he's going to take my money, he's going to charge me commission and all this stuff. No, 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 no. I'm here as a friend. I'm here as an advisor. I'm here. We're going to walk you through the steps, because I know, right? If they could swallow a pill and get their household, they would do it, right? They wouldn't need me. But in the end of the day, right, I'm going to be there to guide them through this journey, right? This step-by-step process. So what are they going to say, right? I saw your paperwork. I saw the price you put on there. Can you actually get that price? Or I saw a price I didn't like. I want to get 20,000 more. Or all these different things is part of your presentation. So you have to have your presentation down. I would say in the beginning, have it canned, have it all scripted out, so that you begin to learn, right? How am I going to change? How am I going to adapt, depending on what they want, depending on what they ask? So all those different things, Javon, as far as Javonis, initially, right? Meeting with those clients, initially going through that. And the broker, she's going to be a real help when it comes to that, as far as that checklist. Because if you have that checklist, wow, to me, it's so much easier, right? We start with the phone, we go for that appointment. At the appointment, right? What are we going to say? What are we going to do? And to me, it's so psychological. It's unreal. But if I focus and I know my presentation down, that I can listen to them, right? When they ask me a question, I'm not thinking, oh, what's the next part? What's the next paragraph? What am I supposed to say? They ask me an objection. Should I do it now? Should I do it later? All that fun stuff. Your mind goes crazy, right? But if you have your presentation down, they might not even ask you any questions. You might say, sign here. And they say, okay, good. Be happy to work with you.
Ideally, right? That's the best client. I love that. And I love the point that you brought up about just making sure that you're confident in it and practicing scripts. And that's something we do in that real estate accelerator class too, is that's just so important to be able to have those answers before the questions are asked. And we kind of go through that. And what I wanted to touch on, since we're kind of in the turmoil of a lawsuit with the buyer's agency stuff, another course that we have is a buyer's agency designation course. And that is something that they teach how to represent yourself as a buyer's agent and then also secure that commission, because I think that's going to be a big thing going forward. Or I know it's going to be a big thing going forward, because that's going to be a big change coming up this summer, is that your buyer's agency commission is not guaranteed anymore. That's something that you're going to have to justify and secure on your own. It's not just going to be something that's in the MLS. So do you want to touch on that for a quick minute here, Harry,
Oh,
about
sure.
the difference between before and after
Yeah.
that
Oh,
lawsuit?
definitely. Definitely. So that's something, again, that as a buyer's agent, we would always know, right? Our commission's guaranteed. I see it in the MLS. I know what I'm going to get, and so on and so forth. And now, like Jamie said, it's not. So what am I supposed to do? How am I going to make money? And my aspect, my goal, again, as a couple of years of experience, it would be to focus on the sellers, right? Focus on the listings. Again, you can work with the buyers. The buyers are going to come, but my brokerage, all the way from the beginning, right? My first brokerage always said, Harry, focus on the listings, focus on the sellers. You never have to worry about it. You control the inventory. If you can control it, buyers are going to come regardless, right? Somebody's got to buy it. Why not it be you, right? So having that control, having that aspect, I think is huge, right? And also, like Jamie was saying, understanding now that buyer representation agreement, right? Understanding what that is. What rights does that have for me? What are the caveats? What are the issues? What do I have to be prepared for when I have that conversation with the buyer and they don't want to pay the commission, or they do want to pay the commission? How much, right? How am I going to negotiate with that buyer? Because I got to get paid, right? I can't do this for free. My broker's not going to allow me to do that.
No.
But the key is understanding what I can and cannot do. And then the goal, to me, in my opinion, is focus on the sellers, focus on that listing presentation, focus on how I can get more sellers, how can I get more listings, and so forth. And in the end, right, of course, I'm going to have to work with buyers. I'm going to have to work with the buyer brokerage agreement. But if you can focus on the sellers, the business just comes, right? You can control the inventory, and it's so much easier to be able to predict your business. Where's your next paycheck going to come from? It's going to be tough, right, with the buyers. And it's always been that way with buyers. We can't, it's hard to predict. right? If
Right.
that buyer is going to come again. But the sellers you can predict.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's important that we are all aware of those changes coming up because it will affect how you do your business. And
Yep.
we did a webinar a couple months ago now, I want to say. Um, March, I believe it was, about that buyer agency program. So if you guys want to learn more about it, you can watch that recorded webinar. You can actually find all the webinars if you go into the community and just search the word webinar. Everything will pull up that's been recorded that we've been doing. So that's one place you guys can learn more about the lawsuit. And then also just on the community in general, there's a lot of different conversations that are out there and articles and videos and all that kind of stuff. So there's great information there, which I just put in the chat to continue the conversation. Go ahead and click that link into the community and that will bring you right into today's conversation. You can also sign up for the community there if you are not a Kaplan student, or you can access the community through your learning hub if you are a Kaplan student. So thank you guys for that piece of it. But I think it's something that's very important, and you're going to have to show your worth when you are representing the buyer's agent, or you are a buyer's agent. Sorry. This will be recorded to answer Christy's question. This will be recorded and we will send it out in about a week. So I want to thank everybody so much for being here today. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Harry, is there anything that you wanted to add, or anything that resonated with you today that you want to just touch on again?
No, I just want to thank everyone for the questions. Great questions. There was one that Giovannis had asked a little bit earlier on that I wanted to kind of touch on too. It says, when building your tribe, can it be a collective of mentors? So of course, yeah, your
Yeah.
tribe is what you make it, right? And I know that's something that when you said that, Giovannis, it reminded me of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, another great book to read, and how Napoleon Hill, right, something that he wrote 100 years ago, and he had, right, all of his collective mentors, even though they had passed away, and you know, they were strong. I think he had you know, all the industry giants at that time, Edison from electricity and Rockefeller from the oil and so forth, but they were all there virtually, right, in his mind, kind of guiding him through decisions and what he had to do. So I think that's something that it's a very interesting question, Giovanni, to kind of do that for ourselves, right? Whether you have mentors, and that's a great thing to have, or you just create it in your way, right? In the end, that's going to be the most important, is what is it to you, right? How can you make the best tribe for yourself? And yeah, the NAR settlement, there's a lot on the NAR website as well, in addition to what Jamie says with Kaplan. So just be mindful of that. It can I know that they're going to make more changes and so forth. So just stay up
Mhm.
on it. You know, just stay up on the
Yeah.
laws and the changes and the rules, because that's in the end what you need. You need to keep current on what's going on, and that's most important.
Wonderful. Yes, that's very important. A great place, a question we received is, where is a good place to find a mentor? And I would say right now you can go into the real estate community and find a mentor there. There's a lot of good instructors in there. There's a lot of good alumni from Kaplan that are in there. So I would obviously recommend the Kaplan community. But Harry, where would you find a mentor, or where have you found mentors?
I mean, all kinds of different places, even something as simple as LinkedIn, you know, just going to different websites. But I would say, again, focusing on your tribe, right? I know for the most part, they have a lot of professional organizations, right? When it comes to real estate, they have a lot of professional networking groups. And I think it's also interesting to kind of see, well, who's out there? Who's in my community? Who's willing to help, right? Another one that, and I don't know, I know it's here in Florida. I don't know if it's nationwide, is SCORE. So that's the Society of Retired Executives. So these are individuals, again, you know, industry giants, people that ran companies, ex-CEOs, retired CEOs. So again, free, right? A lot of times you can go to the library, your local library, and just chat with them. Say, okay, here's my business plan. Here's what I'm thinking. You know, what advice
That's
would you have
great.
for me? So something as simple, and again, free. Yeah, free is good.
Free is great. Free is
Yeah,
great. There's enough things to pay for in real estate. Free
yeah,
is great. Take advantage of that as much as you can, for sure. I think I saw one more question
yeah. I
pop
think Diego
up.
said joining a big company versus a
Oh
small
yeah.
company. So you just kind of weigh them out, Diego. I would say kind of interview both and see what resonates with you. I work for both. They both have pros and cons. So I don't want to, get rid of one without the other. I currently I'm with a smaller company, but it's really up to you. I would say at least interview 5, 6 different brokers, and then just see what resonates with you. Do I like and weigh out the pros and the cons? Is the company bigger company better? Oh, it depends, right? Smaller company better. It also depends. So I
Yeah.
would say just kind of see what's best for you, because in the end, it's got to be personal, right? It's got to work for you, and if it doesn't, it's not worth it.
Right, right. And I would totally agree with what Harry just said. That's such a personal decision because some people need more training than others, and some brokerages provide more training than others, and
Yeah.
some make you pay for it and some don't. So it just kind of depends. Some commission splits are different. So all
Yeah.
that's something to kind of take into consideration when you're interviewing them. And remember, you're interviewing them. It's not a typical job interview where they're interviewing you to come work for them. You're going, they're going to be who you hang your license with. So just stuff to keep in mind. And two, like, are you going to work in a local area? Is
Yeah.
one agency better in that area than another, or does it matter because you're going to work nationally and so you need a bigger brokerage because that name, branches out nationally? So just stuff to consider as you develop your own business plan and develop how you want to do your business and what that looks like. Oh, I think Giovanna's has another question in there. When it comes to marketing costs to the seller, do you find the clients give pushback on investing in the marketing, even with the return on investment?
So something like that, Javanis, is going to come back to the presentation. How did you present it to them? If they believe you and they see the value in there, they see the benefit, they're going to go for it, right? If they don't see the value, they're not, right? It's really going to come down to, is it in their best interest, right? And that we do in the beginning, right? That pre-qualification of that seller is really going to dictate, what kind of
Yeah.
marketing am I going to do for them? Because again, if I give them the wrong stuff, they're not going to go for it. They're not going to agree to it, right? When it comes down to that. So I think, and again, we usually create our own objections, so mentally, right in your head. So if you believe it, if you know it's going to work for them, go with it, and see what happens, right? At the end of the day, they're the ones that have to make that decision, right? And because they're the
Yeah.
ones that are going to pay for
Yeah. I love that this group is so very like networked oriented already. Like they're already like, let's meet for a study group. Let's be a study buddy. Here's my email. Like this whole chat is full of emails. This is awesome. So you guys are already figuring out this tribe thing and networking, and I think you guys will be a great success in this industry because of that. So thank you guys for sharing your emails and contact information with each other. I'm excited. You guys are so excited to be
Yeah,
here.
no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to
Um,
remember.
yeah.
Definitely.
um, and then is there a piece of, as we go, is there a piece of wisdom that you want to share with everyone that's just getting started and starting their business, or finishing up
Um,
their licensing programs?
Yeah, one thing that I really believe, and again, that first brokerage instilled in me is really focus on the sellers, focus on the ins and outs, how it works, because it's they're so different. There's two different worlds, right? Buyers and sellers are completely different. And the other part is to listen a book a week, a book a month, if you could, through something like Audible, through something like, if you guys haven't heard of it before, Hoopla. I'll put it in the chat. Is through your library, and it's a way to get free audiobooks. Hoopla.com, and constantly, right? I think I want to say it was Tony Robbins mentioned like free time or net time, right? Doing things when you're driving, doing things when you're washing dishes, doing things while you're cooking. You could be
Yeah.
listening to the book. I don't have time to sit down and read it, but I could be listening all the time, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
times I'll put it in the car in the morning when I take my kids to school, and now they're becoming exposed, right? And they know all my favorite people, the Les Browns and the Tony Robbins and all the different people that I listen to. And to me, in the end, it's benefiting everybody because I'm getting it, they're getting it, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to make these individuals better people too, as we move on.
I'm glad it's not just me that does that. I do
No.
that all the time in the car with the kids. And one day my 4-year-old was like, "Is this God?" I was like, "No, no, this isn't
No.
God. This is just a different speaker." But they're funny. So, well, thank you for sharing all your tips today, Harry. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure to
definitely.
have you again. You're great. I love all the information that we've been able to share, the wisdom that you've been able to share with everybody, and the tips and tricks. So again, if you guys want to continue this conversation, let me go ahead and put that link back up here to the community. Feel free to put any questions that we might not have had a chance to answer or something that you think of later. Harry's in the community, so he will be the one answering your questions. So again, I thank you guys so much for your time today. I appreciate you guys
Definitely.
being here, and definitely Harry for your wisdom. So
No, thank you.
um,
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, everyone. Yeah, hope
yeah,
you guys
it's been a
got some
pleasure.
benefit. Definitely.
Great. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.